You have really good handwriting. It's like teacher handwriting.
It's been erased.
I just love that you
big
use
so I
like
can
a
see.
pencil.
I have, well,
I don't
that's
know.
just
They have stickies and colored pens.
yes, and sharpeners.
Yes, yeah, that's
This
awesome.
is what I got.
Do you
for
look
my
at the old
birthday.
coloring books or does that hurt you?
I do. I can't do it for one sometimes because it hurts so bad. But I do. It's what Rita suggested to help calm.
Yeah, I love it.
And
I like
because there's so many things that I can't do anymore. So, as I talk about that, that I have things to do.
There's a new app on the phone that's like paint by number. Or if you have like a stylus or your finger, you can just hit the screen. You can do it on an iPad, and that's very relaxing to me too. It's like the lazy form of coloring, but I get like lost in that
That's
too. I'm like, yeah. Somebody on our Republic of Georgia, like, he had these long car bus rides and doing a lot of car trips, showed me this app, and now it's like I'm like addicted. It's like the worst thing ever. David's like, why did they show you that? I'm like, you can't talk. He plays his little like car racing game all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny. That's funny.
But yeah, no, those things are good. They're relaxing.
Yeah.
So
I like doing my flowers are my favorite. I love doing
yeah,
flowers.
yeah.
So,
Because they're so yeah, and all the leaves and the
yes,
trees.
yeah. They have to be, I can't do the teeny tiny ones because I can't see. They have to be a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Because Kyle laughs because I have just tons of
Do you prefer markers or pencils?
it's hard. It depends on what I know. I probably like pencils better because I think it's very easier to like, especially when you're trying to do like, one that has like sunflowers that have little spots and stuff. Things like that.
Yeah. Well, and markers you can't. I know they have like really fancy markers now, but you can't shade as much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can't shade. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, you can't shade.
Like you can't
Yeah,
texture.
pencils you can. And you know, like Christopher got a really nice set, so it has like these really fancy courses.
He's like, Mom,
They come,
create some
they
art.
come in the tin, and I was like, how do you shade? Because I don't know how to shade.
He's probably like,
And
why are
he's
you
like,
coloring?
this is what you do.
I know.
I'm like, they're things that are already picture words. You do the actual picture. He's like, because everybody has their own.
You know, Larry Jenks is organizing these art shows now.
He's sent me a thing.
Okay, because I told him, I was like, we
Yes.
should feature some
Yes.
Christopher's art.
And I told him that when he had one,
Like a space.
subject
Yeah.
that fit Christopher's, I would bring
Okay.
in it. So he and Brenda both, I've read If Kyle Catches It.
Yeah.
And even my mom, because she does quilts.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, it's really cool. We have these like rotating art things.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So,
I thought of Christopher and be like, we
Yeah.
need to see his work. Yeah. Okay, so in a couple minutes, I'm going to invite everyone to just like get their coffee. They're already doing this, but people should go 15 minutes late. So you still have about like 7 minutes or so just to relax. I love your. It's my favorite group. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Calvary on this warm July Sunday. We will get started with our forum in just a few minutes. Please grab a cup of coffee and do what you're doing. Start talking around the tables about the question. And I will be back to introduce Kim to you in about 5 to 7 minutes. Good morning, everyone. Sounds like some good discussion around the tables. You're invited to continue that discussion once the forum is over and we move into our coffee hour. I did want to let you know that today we have a very special treat for coffee hour. Gordon Pelton has brought a big cake to celebrate his own retirement this past week. Yay! He has been a firefighter for 37 years. So we thank you, Gordon, for your service. And we thank you for the cake that we'll enjoy during coffee hour. Next week, during the I Am Calvary series, we'll hear from Geraldine Saunders Cook. So we invite you to come hear Geraldine's story. And today we have the pleasure of hearing from Kim Lenz. Kim is a Colorado native and has been a member of Calvary for over 20 years. She came to Calvary after growing up in Grace Baptist Church, where her grandfather, Reverend Glenn Calhoun, was pastor for over 35 years, and Barbara, his wife, was right by his side. Kim's grandparents attended Calvary for a brief time, as did her son, Christopher, until he graduated high school. He then headed back east to Princeton, and he lives in Boston, and he teaches at the Cambridge School of Weston. Kim's parents, Phyllis and Larry Higgins, are active members here at Calvary, also here today. And Kyle and Kim were married up in Boulder during a blizzard by Mary Holst almost 13 years ago. I'm sure Mary remembers that. Kim disabled, and she's going to talk about this subject today, the diseases she's been diagnosed with, what it's like to be housebound, and what her life is like now. And she'll share with us how her family, friends, and church have been a big part of her faith journey and support network through all of those highs and lows. So please join me in welcoming Kim Lenz.
Can everybody hear me? Good morning and hello. As you know, I'm Kim Lenz, and I've been a member here for over 20 years. I'm not sure where to begin, except that first to say this has been a true and frustrating challenge for me. My brain doesn't work the way it used to, and I think this is part of why Pastor Ann asked me to speak today. Several years ago, I had to leave my job and was put on disability. In more recent years, my situation has changed and I have become more homebound. I have what's called Sjogren's syndrome with rheumatoid arthritis. This means that my immune system mistakenly attacks my body, its own cells and tissues. It affects my eyes and mouth. It can also affect my joints, skin, and can cause prolonged fatigue. It can also damage my kidneys, liver, lungs, and nerves. I also have what's known as hemiplegic migraines. These are migraines that I have 24 hours a day. And what changes is the intensity of the migraines, depending on what is happening to me and around me in the environment. The hemiplegic part is an occasional seizure that acts like a stroke on one side of my body. I also can experience numbness or pins and needles in my extremities. At times I have language difficulties, slurred speech, or altogether forgetting words, phrases, and many other things. And I think that's why I have such a hard time with this today. Then there is what's called mast cell, which is so hard to diagnose and even more difficult to explain how it even affects you. It has to do with the histamine system and the way you develop allergies. Needless to say, it affects your skin and other organs.
over time, I have become allergic to antibiotics. So when I get something like strep throat where you need an antibiotic, I have to see an infectious disease specialist because they have to do it through IVs and watch me over days. Kyle will sometimes have to do it, which he hates. And it's very stressful for him. Lastly, I have what is known as antiphospholipid syndrome, or sticky blood syndrome, or what is known as Hughes syndrome. APS is an autoimmune disorder. It affects the blood clotting and can cause damage to the body's organs. APS, or Hughes, is like a ribbon bundling up all of these diseases into one package. The day I found out I had Hughes was a miracle. I had an appointment with my regular neurologist, and sitting in on my appointment was this doctor who wanted to hear my history, after which she wanted to run a blood test on me due to things she heard in my history and things she saw on my skin. The next thing I know, my mom and I are sitting in her office as she is telling me that the test she ran for Hughes had tested positive. And I have had it all my life. Dr. Schofield began to answer questions and make sense of things that didn't make sense. She started putting pieces of my life together like building blocks. Being chronically ill can be scary and exhausting and financially draining. I can't express enough that living with a chronic illness is tiring, and tiring. And many days you overspend your energy dollars before the day has even begun. Thank you for your article, by the way, Morgan. My home is my safe space. We control the environment, which for the most part needs to be dark, mainly quiet, and soft. I mostly live upstairs, which is dark and quiet and is soft. I have probably more pillows than all of you put together. But I am surrounded by things from most of all of you. I have letters and notes from Mary and Doug, Laura, the Jonelles, from Anne, from Susan, from so many of you. I have a book from Dina Schneider that dates back to the 90s. I have coloring books that Rita Berglund suggests because she thought it would calm me and give me something to do. That's what is surrounded. I have pictures from my family, from friends, which are a lot of you. So that's in this small space, what surrounds me. My life changed. It wasn't all at once. It was gradually. You lose a lot, and you learn to grieve the things you lose. I lost my hair, and I had a little memorial for my hair because it was a big thing to lose. And then you learn new things. You are thankful for new things. Some days might have new challenges, and you learn to have new dreams. Also, you are grateful for the miracles in your life and the angels. My husband and my son, my parents are my angels. They are the ones that are there through the good, the bad, and the ugly. They often don't get a day off. They sacrifice a lot for me. And then there are the miracles that happen all around me and every day. The friends that check on me, send me notes and cards that I receive. The people that pray for me and the people that pray with me. Church members that have brought meals and gifts of love and encouragement and so many other things. Then you have the amazing nurses and doctors, dentists, because my dental is a huge part of this. And I have to tell you, I've had most of my seizures in a dental chair. And counselors like Rita. I am terrified of needles. And when I had to start infusion, she worked with me for months to help me learn to get through that and to start it. These miracles make your day just a little easier or bring some joy amidst the pain. And let me tell you, there are a lot of you out there that have been my miracle and continue to be my miracle. And I just want to end with this. My faith is what gets me through this. When I'm thankful, I pray. When I'm scared, I pray. When I'm joyful, I pray. And when I'm in pain, I pray and I talk with God. My grandfather would tell me that I'm never alone. God is always with me. I'm never, ever alone. I feel very blessed that I've had two incredible church families and that my grandfather was the pastor of my first church family. It's made what I'm going through just a little easier. I choose to see the joy, and I choose to see the miracles around me, and that you are part of those miracles. And I am so very, very grateful. So thank you. Yeah, if anybody has questions.
Thank you, Kim. Kim will answer any questions that you have with the best of her ability. So.
There's a fine line because I have arthritis. I need to get exercise. Because of the migraines, when I do, they intensify. But my husband, yeah, it's better that I go with somebody when I go out. One, because if something happens, it's best that I'm with somebody. But yes, when I'm in the house, I have a routine. The neurologist from the beginning have said that it's good to keep a routine. So in the morning, I get up, I make my bed every day. I never ever stay in bed unless for some reason I am truly, and there have been times where the arthritis has been really bad and my knee has swollen, been the size of a soccer ball. And there have been times. Last year I had arthritis so severely it went across my chest and I was in the hospital. But otherwise, I try to get up every day, do a load of laundry. Everything is mostly upstairs so that I'm not up and down the stairs, as my husband will tell you. He hates watching me go up the stairs because I tend to wind back and forth or fall backwards. So I try to keep mostly upstairs, but I do stretch. I do things so that I'm not just sitting still. It's better that you do move. And there's even exercises that my APS doctor has given me, because essentially it's also a cardiology problem. Part of the APS is that I can have a stroke. I can have a heart attack. So it's twofold. But the more I do that, the more my migraines increase. So there's a very fine line. And all of this is, I used to be very athletic. So it's been a hard thing to lose all of that. We used to hike a lot, and at times we do try to. We just did a trip to Boston to visit my son, and it was a very impactful trip, but you pay the price. For everything you do, you pay a price. Even going out, today, I will pay a price. And you have to realize that. Anybody that has a chronic illness, they will tell you, for everything you do, you pay a price. Meaning you need to rest, you need to ice, you need to heat, you need to whatever. So you just have to learn what that is and figure it out. Know that when you do something, you're either going to, be up for a couple days or whatever. So, but you figure it out. So, yes. Mom? Yeah. They finally figured it out 3 years ago when they finally figured out exactly what it was 3 years ago. When I did the MS race a couple months after that, which was in 2000, right around 2000, a couple months after that was when I started having serious symptoms. At first they thought I had MS. Then they thought maybe there was some cancer. There's been things, but all through my life, I've had little issues here and there. I'd be sick for a year, then really healthy. And then a few things here and there. And that's why I said it's something that I've had my entire life and not realized it. So it took this one doctor being in the right place at the right time. That's why I call her my miracle doctor. And she just does this disease. She does not do anything else. And she just happened to be sitting in with my neurologist the day that I was there. And she just was hearing and seeing what was on my skin. And she just did one blood test, and she's amazing. That's all I can say. She's been a miracle worker. It's not curable, but there's things that you can take and do to help. At least you know what it is. You're happy, but you're sad all at the same time. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 medications, and then I go in once a month for infusion. Yes, Ken. In an emergency, we go to Parker Adventist. I have 2 doctors that are out of UC Health, and then my rheumatologist is with Denver Arthritis, right? So I have some really outstanding physicians that I work with. And then my dentist, my mom worked with for over 30 years. He has been a godsend because he's who referred me to my rheumatologist, but I have to see a hygienist 4 times a year. And for a person that has migraines, having dental care, because that's also part of it, I have no moisture in my mouth at all. And so I have always had cavities, which is part of explained the Sjogren's syndrome and other things. I sometimes choke at night. I cough a lot. I also probably sound like I smoke a pack of cigarettes a day. I don't. It's just mainly because my throat is always dry. So I have to drink a lot of water. I have to chew a lot of sugarless gum. There's other things that I have to do. But my dentist has been he's gentle, he's kind. When work has to be done, he does a lot of things. But like I said, a lot of my seizures have been in the dental chair. And when that happens, they stay so calm and they're so caring. And because one, it is scary. And the last seizure that I had happened to be, I don't remember a lot about it, but it was pretty violent. And they were amazing. My mom is the one that takes me to my dental appointments because she knows what to do when those things happen. Let's just put it that way. Yes. She has gone through a lot, mostly in the United Kingdom. One, because in the beginning, a lot of people did not believe me. One of my doctors thought that I was completely nuts. I kept telling him that I had issues with my skin. It kept hurting. Whenever I take a bath or a shower, when I get out, my skin burns. It hurts. It always has. I'm not allergic to venom, but when I would get a bee sting, things would happen. And nobody would believe me that something was wrong. And so it was things like that. And even Dr. Schofield, when she was watching me, she said that there's things that she can see in my skin. I don't really understand that, but that's, there's also issues that you have with your pregnancies. And so there was that. There were just things, but it has taken, and it's named after a doctor, Dr. Graham Hughes, I believe. And it's just taken all these years of study. And so she's gone through a lot. She also was working out of UC Health. She's no longer there because, here's the other thing. When she works with you, my first appointment was like 3 hours long. The medical system will not pay her because you are only allowed a certain amount of time in a doctor's appointment. So when I see her now, I have to pay her in cash. So I only am allowed to see her once because that's really all I can afford right now. I'm lucky because I was one of her first patients when she was at UC Health. And so, in all honesty, I can see her for $600. But if you are a new patient, it's $2,500. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she really was, my mom and I firmly believe she was a true miracle. I'm sorry, what? Yes, but he has Raynaud's syndrome, which is an autoimmune, but he doesn't have, as of now, he does not have any of the other. My biological father has MS, which Bill knows, and I think Nick has met Art. So I do have some things that look like MS, because some of this does, when you first look at it, looks like MS. And so that's why for a while people thought that it was MS. And so in the beginning, you can go years and people think that you have MS. Yes. Well, I have so many. Well, my grandfather took me, one of my best was, I was lucky enough, and I think this was another miracle, because I can't do really a lot of traveling right now, is that he took me we hiked to the bottom of the Grand Canyon twice, which was just amazing. He loved the outdoors. It was just amazing, I guess is all I can say, because we got to spend time outdoors. It's God's beauty, but just to be out there with him doing that. Our church was smaller than Calvary, and so he did everything. There was a time when my mom and I lived with my grandparents, and when she was working, my grandfather would watch me. And so he would take me to the church and open it up. So the church has always been like a second home to me. I knew every nook and cranny of that church like it was the back of my hand. And it really was like a second home. And when he would do Vacation Bible School, I have memories of him in the kitchen cooking up whatever meal or snack was going to be for Vacation Bible School. And he also, like Mary, loved Israel. And he took my mom and my aunt there, and he just, I don't know, he loved his church. He loved his God. He loved Christmas. He loved doing the Christmas Eve service. He had an amazing voice. He once did his sermon by song, which was incredible. There you go, Anne. So I have to say, when you are homebound, you have a lot of time alone, but yet you're not alone. I don't feel like, I know that sometimes my family worries that I'm alone, but I'm not, because I have so many memories that I think about, that I keep with me. And I think that that's also, when I came here when I did tent camp one year, I met Brenda Ramey. I was a counselor, she was a camper. Also, my grandmother suggested that I come here because there was an incredible female pastor named Mary. Also, my grandmother worked with a woman named Betty Phillips at University Park Medical Clinic, which is now a parking lot. And also my grandfather, if I'm remembering correctly, because my memory isn't great anymore, did business with Dean Troyer. So I have these things to me that are like pearls in a necklace. They string together. And to me, Calvary was like my next church family, because Grace was a family. My grandfather's secretary, he had, how long was Maria there? A very long time. But her daughter, she and I literally grew up together. We are only a year apart in age. And she's one of my best friends. So there's just, and I saw things continuing when I came here. Doug and Connie have been friends for so long. And we've been there with the struggles, the joys. It's the same way. Kelly Michelle introduced me to Julie. Julie started taking me to doctor's appointments. And bless her heart, I had an experience in a doctor's office where the intern made me cry, and Julie stood up to them and said, "You are not supposed to do that to a patient." But it's things like that where the ripple effect. And so you people are my second family. And that's what I wanted from a church family, was what I had with my first church family. So, and I firmly believe that when you have things like this, you can't do it alone. It's too hard. Well, I have a lot written down, and I have it in pencil where I can erase and re-erase. And I had to do it a lot. I look up at things I can't spell. I had a dictionary beside me. Some things I can remember. Where was Grace? Tell me if I'm wrong. 395 Knox Court? Some things I can remember, but some things I really, really struggle with. I don't know why. It's part of the disease. I can be sitting there talking, and my family notices I can forget words, I can forget phrases. It is so entirely frustrating. And it's just that way. I don't know why. It's really hard. I can stand there and look at somebody, I've known them forever, and I cannot remember names. Go ahead, Mom, because you go through this with me. I can't, I always have somebody go with me to important things where there's going to be documents to read. I don't understand things anymore. And remembering how to use things, my husband will show me something and I don't remember it. He has to keep. It's like a document that gets stuck. It's like a constant paper jam. It's so frustrating, so frustrating. So, hi Nancy. There are there are some out there. There's some on Facebook, and I do read. I mainly at different points have gone to see Rita. She's been a huge help. Mainly for all kinds of different things. For pain management, she's helped me learn to breathe. She's given me different tools. Also just to talk when I've needed someone to talk to. So at different points in time, I've done that. I think it is really important. I try not to hold him back from going to basketball games with his friends, doing things like that, because I can't do a lot of that. There's times where, like at the beginning of the year this year, for some reason, got really sick and I could not go anywhere. I got my arthritis flared up really bad in my knee. I got a really bad cold, and then they thought I had a blood clot in my ankle. I then had to go, what was it, Mom? You learn new doctors too. I had to go to what? An interventional radiologist, because they thought that there was some issues within the really tiny veins and arteries. I was having issues with my ankle. Needless to say, I could not go to go see my nieces and nephews because I was so sick. I literally was confined to the house for almost 3 months. And so Kyle still needed to go because he needs to still do those things even though I can't. So, right. When I can't, he does our stuff. The grocery shopping, the stuff. I don't know. Hey, Virg. Yes and no. I have one, because of my migraines, I can't be on it for very long. Two, I don't remember how to do things when Kyle tries to explain it. That's the other fold. So, and yet, it's there so that if an emergency happens in that way, it is. Because when I was driving, here's a good example. I went to Julie's house and I got lost coming home. And it really scared me. I was like, how did that happen? And then, of course, here's another good example, which Alice. I called her one day because I got the new directory and I could not figure out why my name wasn't in it. After 3 days at home, wondering why my name wasn't in it, I literally forgot who I was for 3 days. My name was in it, but I was asking about the wrong name. I forgot. And of course, my mom and Julie and I had a really good laugh about it, and not having met Alice in person yet. And I'm so glad she understood about it. But I was inquiring about the wrong name. So I, for some reason, went back 13 years to Whitaker instead of Lenz. And when I called her, she's like, but Kim, your name is in it. And I'm like, well, I don't see it anywhere. And she's like, well, let me go see, because I could have sworn I saw it. And there it was, Kim Lenz, but I was looking for Whitaker for some reason. So my brain just, I forget where things are. My brain does not work. And so when it comes to technology, it's kind of a scary thing. Kyle got me a new, really wonderful camera, a fancy camera. Christopher had come to visit, and he really was teaching me to do, because we thought that way when we go for a walk, I can take pictures when we're at family events. And every time I get it out, I have to relearn to use it. So it's a tricky thing. Your brain is a tricky thing. So.
Last questions? Kim, thank you so much. We heard you when you said you will have to pay a price for this later today and this week in terms of your energy dollars. And so we thank you for sacrificing today to be here. Thank you, Kyle, for being here as well. Stay here while I pray with you. Gracious and loving God, this is one of those stories where we wonder why. Why so many diagnoses? Why so long to get answers? Why does life have to be so hard for some people? And yet, as Kim has shared with us, we have heard your grace notes and your mercy and your love all throughout her story. God, we acknowledge that living with several chronic illnesses is so very difficult for Kim. And we pray for your strength to be with her each and every day as she fights to get up in the morning and to do something that gives her life and meaning and hope. We thank you for Kyle, for his steadfastness, for all that he does to support Kim. We pray for him as well. We pray for Phyllis and Larry, the whole family and community of support surrounding Kim. Lord, we thank you for Dr. Schofield and for those other miracle moments in Kim's journey that have led her to this place where she is able to sit before us and share her story. The journey has been long and hard, and there's a long and hard journey ahead. But what a beautiful reminder of how to look for moments of gratitude and joy in the midst of it all. Thank you for Kim. Thank you for her spirit and life and the gifts that you have given her and the ways that she blesses us through her prayers and her gifts and cards. Bless her this week. Remind us all to be grateful for this moment, for the health that we have today in this moment, and for the friends and support and church family around us. In Christ's name we pray. As I said earlier, next week Geraldine will be here sharing her story with us, and we have some cake now to celebrate Gordon's retirement. So you're encouraged and invited to talk around the tables. If you have questions or want to talk to Kim, you can come up and speak with her. She's going to put her mask back on.